Hey, we're the Shealys. Welcome to the Daily Bread podcast.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all things ministry, music, family, creativity, and maybe even a little fashion.
Yay! Hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Bread Show.
Hello.
Chris Shealy, my beautiful wife, Summer Shealy. Yes, I love you. It's always so much fun to do this. My goodness, we are hot and heavy into it. Tonight we are shooting. Our kids are upstairs watching movies. We're in the middle of summer. Life is busy. It is full, and these days are so fast.
Yes, I have on my Uggs.
You wearing Uggs in the summertime?
I know it's the summer.
I feel like I wish we had an angle on these sick Chicago Bulls, like rose shorts you're rocking.
I love like old school Chicago Bulls because I used to stay up and watch
Michael Jordan, yeah.
Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, all those guys play. So
that was legendary. And you just got back from Chicago.
I did.
Yes.
So I love cities. I love cities, just like the energy and the people, and I don't know, they make me feel good. But that was one city I had never been to.
You know what?
So I was with a friend, and she was like, oh, I love Chicago. I was like, I've never been. And it was just like a spontaneous, we went for like 3 days.
Well, girls
it's beautiful.
Trip, getaway. Yeah, what was your favorite part of Chicago?
I think the water going through the city. It was really stunning, like to have the skyline and all the lights from the city, and then there's just like this beautiful river of water running through the middle of all of it. Yeah, it was beautiful.
I'm ready to go. We need to go back together this time.
So if you haven't been, you should go.
Shout out to any of our friends from Chicago.
Or if you live there, or if you ever have lived there. It's great.
Yes, invite us to your church. We will come. Lead worship. No, we are in a season talking about transition, a lot of transitional things, a lot of how to handle yourself in these types of seasons. And I think tonight it will be amazing for us to talk a little bit deeper about how to transition really well, in regard to like leaving positions, leaving appointments, leaving engagements,
job roles,
whatever you call it, in whatever field that you're in. For us, it's staff positions, and we've transitioned a few times now, and for the most part, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's some do's and there's some don'ts.
We've also transitioned in regular corporate job roles.
We have multiple, probably more times than ministry, honestly.
So we can actually say we've done our fair share of both.
Yeah, we have. Golly, we spent more time, actually it's about even now, in ministry and corporate between our years in college doing it and after college before we said yes to our first staff role at, how old are we?
30. Good
Lord.
Don't worry about how old we are.
Well, you just told everybody that we watched Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
I didn't say how old I was when I watched them.
Yeah, well.
Old enough to watch them, though.
We're blessed because we got the best of that era, and we've gotten the best of like Kobe, Shaq, that whole era. And now we've watched LeBron for his entire career.
We love sports, actually.
Steph.
We do. We love Jesus. We love music.
Yeah.
And fashion.
Yep.
But it's a little bit of a caveat usually for the Shealys because most creatives don't care about sports.
That's interesting, isn't it?
So
we are crazy about sports.
We're mostly fanatic about football, American football.
Yes. Probably followed up by basketball, yeah.
Yeah.
But right now we're really getting into some soccer.
Yeah.
We're watching Copa and the Euros.
Yep.
Every day.
But we love sports.
Yeah, well, let's get into this. So talking about how we've transitioned, and I think you've got some really amazing revelation on that old adage, the grass ain't always greener.
Yeah.
On the other side of the fence. And there'll be some things, some tips I think hopefully we can leave with people as we share a story and get into some stuff tonight. So I guess I first want to start off by saying we have, yes, transitioned many times, and we have done it well, and we have not done it well. And what I would say has worked is being as transparent and open and honest from the get-go as early as possible has been the best approach we've ever tried, right?
if that works in your setting. In a ministry setting, that's generally how you would approach. Probably in a corporate setting, you don't always start telling them ahead of time.
No, you can't. I mean, you might need to use them as a reference on your job, your next job, and then they may say, actually, no.
I just want to throw that out there, like,
don't hire them.
It probably is very dependent on what kind of job you're in.
Well, let's lean into the ministry side of things, since most people are watching or within the church world and doing. Did you see that quick scan I did? That was like ninja. I was scanning for the caps on the lenses of all these cameras. You see that? I wanted to point that out so that people could realize, like, we are alone here doing this podcast just in our studio. So we've got to check all the details.
Yep. Here we are.
Here we are. Anyway, so we've transitioned a few times, and we found it most beneficial that when we feel that season, it always kind of feels similar. No matter what you're doing, when you're doing it, where you're at, the initial feelings of transition that kind of bubble up in your spirit and your heart feel the same, don't they?
I think that for us, and I think for most people, this so connects to our last episode that we just did, of when you start feeling a lot of questions, a lot of, well, I don't know why I'm thinking about this differently, but all of a sudden I am, or I've never wanted to work anywhere else, but all of a sudden I'm having these different visions of myself doing something. And it starts just this increase of questions, vision, dreaming. That's usually your first flag, which directly correlates to where we left off from the last episode of the unknown and questions and walking on water. But when you start feeling that, and a lot of times we've learned you don't connect it to transition right away. Usually you're like, oh, I got to figure out what's going on at my job. I don't know what's going on. Or maybe I need to like take some time away. I'm just like,
maybe these people are getting on my nerves.
This person needs to get into a different position, or, I'm not going to be able to work with this person anymore. This isn't working. Yeah.
You start diagnosing everything.
And sometimes it is a, character building season where you don't leave, and it is something God is working on. But a lot of times when you start feeling that overwhelming sense of question and all of a sudden uncertainty and just like this, what's going on kind of thing. And it doesn't even have to be bad. Like it can be absolutely nothing going on. Things are great. You're just like, I don't know why, like this, something is feeling weird or not right. I like to say we've learned to do it quicker than we have. We're still sometimes hesitant, but we are on a journey learning to really watch and listen to those flags that come up like that. Like, okay. Is this like a self-examination character building season, or is this I sense a transition happening? Yeah,
it gets really tricky. Like if you're wired like we're wired, we're leaders, and we've been leaders in organizations, we've been leaders in corporate supervisory roles, management roles. We are sort of wired and trained to identify structural issues, organizational issues, to fix them, to be a solution to that scenario. And so we apply that lens everywhere we go. Even if we're not on staff, we see things. And so that gets tricky in transition, because when we transitioned at one of our last roles, like the square peg in the round hole was us. And we were seeing it across the board, like none of this is working together. Actually, we're not supposed to be here. And it took us a while, and I would say quite a bit of time of frustration. Like you were just saying, we had to pull back and shut that down just to realize, actually, this is God telling us that we don't belong here.
Right. And I would say even more oftentimes than not, now at this point in our journey, I've noticed that it's not necessarily indicative that there's a problem. Yeah. It's that it's literally just the next chapter for you. Yeah. Because like we said, even in the last episode, everything that you build or that God gives you to build is to give right back. Yeah. That's repetitive through your whole life. Yep. Yeah. Your whole life. And so sometimes it's just I've completed this assignment.
It's time to move on.
I need to lay it back down at his feet, which sometimes is hard. and painful because you have emotional attachment to something you've been a part of birthing or building, whatever it is. And God's like, and you've done well.
Yeah.
And now it's time to turn the page.
Hand it to somebody else.
So transition, and we touched on this earlier, but transition is so often considered something negative. And we are really on a journey with the Lord with us that it is not that at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really have to be. And like we've seen it done so poorly for so long and so many times, and we've even been a part of that. We've done it.
And it's only associated like when there's a problem.
When there's a problem. But we've also seen transition handled really well. And we've seen, in our case, transition handled where we did our part the right way and our leaders did the right part, or their part the right way as well. And it actually worked out to be pretty peaceful, pretty painless. Although it was hard to leave people that we loved, it was still mostly painless. And what everybody says is transition's always hard, transition's always messy. And we were just like, it doesn't have to be that way. Specifically with like church stuff in the kingdom, it does not have to be messy, because we're all people and we hold people like this as leaders. If you have a good leader, they're holding you like this anyway, because you're not theirs and you don't belong to them. It's all God's. And vice versa. Like there's no weird attachments and tethering. It's, if we're holding people like this, when God moves them on, it should be relatively easy to let them go, because we never were holding anyway. So, we've seen that happen, and there is a way to do it. There is a way to do it. And you say this a lot, when we start feeling the rumblings of change and transition, you always say it's time to go really low. Mm-hmm. Or how do you say it?
Low, slow, and quiet.
Well, you tell me. We're going to go low, slow, and keep your mouth shut.
Well, so Chris is a verbal processor. I'm already quiet. I'm more of an internal processor. Most of you might not think I'm quiet if you've only seen me like in
Oh, you're so quiet.
Like a leading worship or whatever capacity. But when it comes to processing, especially in, decision making and just things going on in life, I am an internal processor. Yeah. But it is very important. I mean, Jesus is constantly referencing that. And that when you're especially in a season of the unknown, it's not the time to open up and let 25 people into your circle. That's the time that you lean on probably the ones that you can count on one hand that God has placed in your life as mentor and wisdom and, accountability, ones that can look you in the face and say, this is probably not a great decision, or something feels off. Let's pray. Yeah. Those people, because you don't want to completely isolate, but it is going low, because when you're in a season of transition, you need his voice to be louder than any others.
Right.
And that can't be the case if you are surrounding yourself with busyness and noise.
Yeah.
So it's a time to pull back. It's a time to consecrate. It's a time to fast even, maybe, but whatever you need to do that creates the scenario for your mind and your heart and your spirit to just fully engage.
Well, because the ultimate goal, at least our ultimate goal, and it should be everyone's ultimate goal, is to leave wherever they are a better place than when they arrived.
Right.
For whatever they were asked to add value to a situation or a staff or whatever, leave it better than when you came, and don't, do your best to not damage what you gave your heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears to in that season on the way out of it.
Integrity is everything.
It's everything, yeah.
It's more than being right.
Yeah.
It's more than doing or building what you think needs to happen.
Yeah.
Leaving a place and leaving a taste in someone's mouth of being an integritous person.
It's everything.
Not perfect, but integrity.
Yeah. High character
is absolutely everything, because the foundational root and everything for revival is relationships. So it doesn't matter what relationships you're going to. Like this is said a lot. How you leave is how you enter. So you're not ever going to leave a season with all your fingers pointed. The good old thing of how many fingers are pointed back.
You're right. Well, that's the thing. It is what it is. Like conversely, when you're leaving a season and you're not happy and things have not been good and you're transitioning out.
Low and slow
still. Quiet. It's like one of my pet peeves, and I've actually done this. But the older I've gotten and hopefully the more mature I've become, the less likely I've been to leave a place super pissed off and start hurling hand grenades over the fence back at those people that, 10 minutes ago were family we loved. And then you leave a place or a situation because it's not what you want or it's not even right for you. Your grace is gone, and then you just start destroying them online or to every person that you come in contact with. That is so wrong. That is one case in point of how transition is handled terribly. And I've done that. God
alone sits in the judgment seat.
Yes.
So it doesn't even come down to whether you know 100% in your spirit and in your heart that they are wrong. It doesn't matter. If that is what is going on, you have the opportunity then to pivot with the Lord. He will open up another door. He will open up the next season. He'll turn the page.
He will.
You stay low and quiet, and God alone sits in the judgment seat. It's not ever my or your place to fix someone.
Yeah. It's challenging, right? Because when you leave a place and there's just all sorts of foolishness going on, even then, still go low, go slow. Even if people are wrong and they've hurt you, go low and slow and let the Lord handle it.
Right.
He will. He'll fight the battles. You go low and slow and move on and enter your next season right because of, you should share some of the revelation you have about.
I just wanted to touch on the low and slow thing.
Yeah.
Low is because the Lord clearly states and references so many times in Scripture those that are humble.
Yeah.
He fights the battle. Yeah. Those that are humble, he will exalt. Those that are humble,
he lifts them up.
Every single time. And so you can't ever be wrong in the eyes of the Lord to go humble.
Yeah.
To go low. And you go slow because when you are in a time of transition, emotions are high. And whenever you are making decisions, you don't ever want to make decisions based in a season of high emotion.
No.
You wait on the Lord. And if the Lord shuts the door fast, then you know it.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, that is not what happens. Oftentimes, the Lord will allow a transition to take as long as it needs for the character and integrity to remain.
Yeah. And to protect the relationships. Like
because
every place we've ever served, I would like to think that we still have relationship there. And it hasn't always been easy, and it definitely hasn't always been clean and not messy. But I think the Lord alone has preserved relationship. And we've left places where we were happy there, and we've left places where we were not happy. But at the end of the day, when all's said and done, there's still relational equity, and there's things intact that should be intact because the world is a very small place, and especially in our streams of what we do, it's very small and very connected, and everybody knows everybody. So if you're going around just saying too much, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt sooner or later. So it's just best to do what you said and go low and slow.
Yep.
But tell us about like how you the picture of that the Lord gave you about leaving a place and entering a next place and being so convinced that one place is terrible and that where you're going is going to be so much better.
During one of our transitions, I was really, I guess maybe just arguing with the Lord about the timing. And like, we did this out of obedience.
Yeah.
Why is it looking like this? And it's like, you're always thinking, okay, if this, and this would just get into place.
Right.
And this person would just see what I'm seeing. Things would be there. And then you find, when you're in those places, then you find yourself, especially if you're traveling and being a part of like other groups of people and communities, you're seeing all different representations of how to do something.
Yeah.
And so you catch glimpses of like, oh, what they seem to be doing. That looks, why aren't we doing it like that?
Yeah.
That seems to be working great. Look at their community, like, or look at their organization, or look at their team or whatever it is. And I'm just having these thoughts like with the Lord, like conversing and thinking and just all in my head, but I'm just like having time with the Lord. And he says, Summer, no grass is greener in any pasture.
Come on.
There are so many pastures, and every pasture has piles of poo. The problem is we think we're going to find a pasture
without it
that doesn't have any poo.
Wow.
This is what the Lord's telling me. He's like, you won't ever find a pasture without any poo. What you're going to find is that where you are graced to be, you are graced to walk through the poo. You can use whatever word you want. I feel that's fitting for our
Somebody's got to be graced to clean that stuff up.
You will not ever find a group of people, I don't care if it is in the church setting, in a ministry setting, in a corporate setting, in a hospital or a bank or accounting or law firm, whatever you do.
Yeah.
It's full of people doing it.
Yeah.
We are all humans.
Mm-hmm.
We do stupid stuff sometimes.
Not us.
We say stupid things.
Yeah.
We all have seasons, like we're talking about right now, transition, or things going on in your life, and you just do stupid stuff. And when people are involved, you're going to have messes.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the whole thing is bad.
Right.
So it changed my perspective from, I need to stop looking for a pasture with no poo or less poo to, I need to make sure I'm hearing the Lord and know where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, it's good.
Because then I'm graced to navigate the poo. Sometimes it's my own poo. Sometimes it might be other people that's character building and you're sharpening each other.
Yes.
Nevertheless, nobody does anything that doesn't involve humans.
All right.
People make everything work.
Yeah.
It's God's design.
Yeah.
And
that's probably the telltale sign number one that you're in transition, and you should not be where you're at if you have no grace to deal with the imperfections of everybody you're around.
Or a telltale sign that you need to do some self-reflecting and figure out, okay, I need to change my lens and have more grace here.
Yeah, like what is it about me, Lord, that's not able to handle this? Or are you moving me on? Like, just ask the Lord those questions. And, because I think our heart's desire for ourselves, our heart's desire for everyone out there that's doing, whatever they're doing, ministry, business, is that we're all in the right place. I think I said that on the last episode, that we're in the right place doing what we're supposed to be doing with the people that we want to do it with. That makes you happy. Finding your people, finding your tribe, it unlocks so much about your life and destiny. And landing in the right spot is critical to that in certain seasons. And so, being in the right spot with the right people it's a lot easier to deal with all the crap in the field. So
find your pasture.
That should be the title of this.
Find your pasture, and then you will find your people.
Yeah.
It does not mean it will be poo free.
The grass ain't always greener.
It never is. It never is. So that should set somebody free.
Hopefully. Look, we don't have... us. Life is short, right? Like, we've been in Atlanta now 3 years, and it feels like no time at all. It feels like we've been here a year or less. It just is passing fast. And we left Texas 5 years ago. And we were in Raleigh, North Carolina 2 years. Everything was so fast. It's moved so fast. And there's just not time to look back.
Right.
And be stuck in the last season because we're still upset or pissed off about what they're doing over there. So much so that we spend our time and efforts trashing it. And I see that a lot. It's sad. But there's just not time to do that. We got to be forward thinking. We got to be moving ahead and what God's doing in us and where he's taking us.
Yep.
And we've got to be where we're supposed to be fully. We've got to transition well. And that's part of it that we haven't hit on is to finish the transition, to leave, to untether, to unhook your mind and your emotions from all that stuff and bless and release and walk forward.
With relationships in transition, often people, and sometimes this has to be the case, but it shouldn't most of the time, that often people will will say that means, well, we can no longer be in relationship because we're not doing the same thing anymore.
Yeah.
And I believe personally that actually grieves the Father's heart. And I will say this, I say this probably on every episode at least once. I do not want a blanket statement this, because there are times when things happen that you do have to sever a tie.
Yeah.
And that is biblical.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes that is the case, but I believe that more often than not, I would probably say like 90% of the time, it is the Father's desire that we leave with bridges.
Yeah.
The kingdom is like a net. Heidi Baker talks about this. We are all the bride of Christ casting a net to reap the harvest and ready the bride. We cannot have a net if you're cutting your cord everywhere that you leave.
Come on.
There is no net. You
That's a good
have
word.
to maintain the relationship. Now, what that doesn't mean is that it looks and smells and tastes and does everything like it always did. It will look different.
Yeah.
Because when you aren't in the day-to-day and doing life with someone, it does look different. Our friends that we had in Texas, most of them are still our friends.
Yeah.
But it does look different.
It looks way different.
Because we hardly ever see them.
Our friends that we have in Raleigh are still some of our best friends.
Some of our best friends. So it does look different.
Yeah.
And it will feel different. And that is okay. And it should be that way.
Yeah.
You don't want to keep it so connected that it doesn't change at all, because that means you didn't actually let the page turn. You're like kind of letting the page go, oh, okay, let's go back for a second. Oh, let's go back for a second. Oh, let's go back. You do have to rearrange it, and it has to look different. But it has to be, you better make sure that you're doing it out of obedience if you sever that tie.
Come on.
Because you're cutting a net, a piece of the net every time you do that. And I believe that's so far from the Father's heart.
Yeah.
A season change is not indicative of a break in relationship.
Yeah. And like you said, that's really good. That's really, really good and very, very healthy. But sometimes you do have to cut that tie. And we've done that too. And that's a whole nother thing that is worth exploring. But it's usually when somebody's just not safe, or they're causing pain and they're not responding. And it's...
Well, if they will not repent.
Right. Unrepentant, damage causing, not safe. And that's fine. What we're not saying is you have to hold on to that person forever.
No.
But that's so beautiful about the net, and don't cut holes in the net where there doesn't need to be holes in the net in the body of Christ. Come on. It's the body of Christ after all.
Right.
We had the opportunity to be on stage with Heidi one time, and we were singing. She turned around to us when she gave us that revelation. Heidi, if you're watching, we love you. The revelation of, let's sing a song about fishing.
And it actually talked about going out on the water.
Which
Funny
we
enough.
touched on last episode.
Yeah. This is just a little bit of our life story. But I do believe it's what the Lord is doing right now with the boats and water and nets. There's something about what the Lord is trying to reshape our lens, what we see and how we do it. Sometimes you have to change boats.
Ooh.
Don't cut your net between boats.
Come on, that's good.
You've got to keep the net there.
We're all fishing in the same waters, baby. We're just on different boats at the moment. That's a good word. Wow.
So how you leave is how you enter.
And there's poo in every field.
Even if you have to sever a relationship, how you leave is how you enter.
Yeah.
So say you do hear from the Lord to sever something, do it. You're still responsible for walking through the healing process that you need to walk through before you enter the next season or as you're entering it, because it will absolutely carry with you.
It'll go with you as long as you allow it to.
Yeah.
And that will affect your life in a negative way for as long as you allow it to. So don't do that, people.
Transition is inevitable, and it should be most of the time.
Yeah.
Exciting with the Lord.
Positive.
If we go low.
Fun.
Slow.
Yeah. And keep your mouth shut.
Quiet. And just listen to the Lord and be obedient.
Yeah. What a great episode. That's so good. We really hope that helps you guys as you're watching, wherever you're watching. Thanks so much for joining us again on the Daily Bread Show, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Hey guys,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us and listening in.
Yeah, I really hope you liked it. And if you'd like more content like this in the future, would love for you to consider supporting our ministry. We would love to produce a lot more content and keep it all free. So if you're interested, head over to shealyworship.com/support to find out more.
Thank you guys.